Hello guys, welcome back to the Variety Show, Season 4, Episode 4. I'm with the great honor to introduce Bessie Matthews, who works with Great British Rail Freight, and also a lover of dogs like some of you right here, who as she's just met today and absolutely fallen in love with. Isn't that right?
He's beautiful. Hello. Yes, I'm absolutely enamored with your little dog. I love Sunny.
Yes, he's an absolute treasure. We've had him since I'm gonna say 2021 or 2022. It came around my one of my mother's birthdays. We picked him up, and
Oh,
he's just an absolute little treasure to have around the house. I just love him so
he is
much.
loving cuddle.
Yes. What about your dogs? What type of dogs do you have?
Well, I have four dogs. I have three very old dogs. One is, oh, not going to let me pick him up. Like a cross of a German Spitz, so big fluffy boy. I've got two very old pug sisters, which you can hear squeaking in the back. And I've got a youngish French bulldog who's at the moment exploring the garden.
Oh my goodness, you have a handful in your house. How do you keep it all keep them all entertained, keep them all occupied?
Oh, they occupy each other, luckily, except for at the moment, because I'm talking to you, one of them's very jealous. So she's just squeaking in the background.
Oh, that's great. That is great. So I guess I'll start answering the topics now. So how did you get into, working with Great British Rail in general? So take me back to the early roots. Where did you begin?
So, when I was a little girl, my dad works on the railway, and he's a train conductor, like a guard. So I don't know anything about Australian rail, what it's like for you guys out there. Um, but we have guards or conductors on the train, on board passenger services, and a lot of the times they're there to check tickets. A lot of the times, depending on where in the country you are, they open and close the doors of the trains. So my dad does that, and he has done for about 22, 23 years now. So growing up watching him do that, it made me want to get onto the railway. I loved it. So I managed to do that in 2018, doing that same job. I was a conductor, brilliant job.
Yeah.
Um, and then fast forward to now, I'm now driving freight trains. So our big old diesel locomotives and training to move bits of cargo around the UK.
That's incredible. Yeah, I have because I've been applying for V-Line, which is Victorian Railway here in Victoria, so where I am currently based. I'm genuinely looking at like station officer guard type of jobs. So we do have that type of people that are like checking tickets and all that, or
Yeah.
checking paper tickets if you're going forward to be on the Myki system. So that's like a sort of ticket system we have if you want to travel to the city and all that. And my dog is getting restless, really restless.
Mine are as well. I don't know if you can hear it still squeaking in the back.
Okay, you can go off. We'll let him get off.
Bye,
Uh,
Sunny.
uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Could be a bit tricky, but there we go. But yes, so my key, I actually have the card. Looks like this. So PTV, Public
Oh, wow.
Transport Victoria. So we have like a card system where you can put money and top it up, so you're able to access not only bus services, train services, but tram services. So there's a very nice tram system that free tram service in the CBD, which is absolutely amazing, especially if you
That's
spend
really good.
like to plan to spend a long time in Melbourne or like catching sport, which we have Etihad Stadium, which is across the road from Southern Cross, which is like a huge hub of stations which connects the metro system and the V Line services under one roof.
That's really good. And is it quite easy as well to, sorry, I'm now asking you the questions.
Yes.
Is it quite easy as well to use the public transport? Because I know I grew up in London, so I didn't need to learn how to drive a car until I was like 26 when I moved away. Because, yeah, the roads are so chocked with buses and this, that, and the other. It's easier to get the bus, easier to get the train. So is it quite easy for you to get on public transport rather than drive?
Yeah, like especially Melbourne, as I've told many of my British guests who've come on, Melbourne is the Southern Hemisphere version of London, and London is the Northern Hemisphere version of Melbourne. So they're both very, very busy places. So public transport is king. So
That's good.
it's the number one preferred transport system. And if I go onto my computer, because I was just looking at
Oh crap!
Chrome. Oh
No fighting, please. Now it's my
gosh,
turn to go top.
that's
There we go.
hilarious. Where are we, sir? We are in public. Here we are. We go up. So this is the map of Southern Cross. Can you see it?
Oh wow! Yeah, yeah, I see it.
So it says this way, that's where all the main sporting events happen down near that. We have concerts there as well, but the blue represents the metro and then the purple is V Line. So pretty big station, probably much smaller
Yeah,
to maybe King's Cross or some of the more London-based ones, but it is a huge hub for Victorian transport.
that is a lot of platforms though, especially where I see that it splits them into two as well, platform two and platform 2B sort of thing, 2A and
Yeah.
2B.
So
On,
that
so I thought,
so that's obviously we've had different types of trains built over time. So we've slowly phasing out our diesels, which are usually the N class. I think I've got an image of it here. They look like this little beauty.
they're
And they've
awesome.
had
Look at
different
that.
color schemes over the years. There's like blue
Oh,
and red one, then
that's
this one.
giant.
Yeah, so many so many different variants, and I've kept a folder on my phone of all the different N classes that have come through One Pond Station because that's like
Wow.
the last stop for it before they go on paper tickets. So they're really cool to
Wow.
slot,
They look huge as well.
and you can get them as model trains.
That is so cute.
Yes, so it's
Your
really
logo on the look.
awesome. Yeah, and the carriages they have are the hype class carriages, so they look like this on the back of the carriages. They have five usually per train, with one of them being a food carriage and also
Yeah.
really nice seating. And it's a shame to see them go because they're the best seating on fleet, I reckon, in my opinion.
Yeah, it sounds like you're kind of going through what we've gone through in the last 6 years, that we had loco hauled passenger trains, really, really comfy seating. And we've got a load of new stock in. And even though this new stock is fantastic, you know, it's got like level boarding, massive panoramic windows. It's like it's not everywhere. It's not all over the country, but in certain places, you know, the bi modes and tri modes and all of this, they are so
Yeah.
much passengers. But as a railway enthusiast, I miss the loco hauled stuff. I miss the really old gross seats. You know, it's that sort of thing. But they are better for the future. It's new stuff.
Yeah, so our new ones, they're called Velocity, like trains. So they look like, if I share my screen again,
That's really cool.
yeah, so they
They're quite little, really, aren't they? Do you have like bigger ones and smaller ones, or is it that is what you get? They'll just couple them up.
So, depending on the busyness of the service, it will either range from a three-seater like that or to a six-seater. So that's double the size. And preferably, I know back in my uni days, it used to be a struggle to get a seat around peak time because everyone coming from Melbourne, going through
Yeah,
Footscray, you pick up the university students and all that, it became full pretty quickly.
yeah, I can imagine.
So
Oh, that'd be
there.
quite interesting to have. It's a cool looking thing.
Yeah, and we've obviously updated it to feature the purple and yellow signature V-line
Yeah,
colors as well. We have our map as well. So this is the V-line map. So it covers a good chunk of Victoria, and obviously we've had other services in the past that have covered to Horsham, where some of my folks are from, but that slowly obviously went out of service, is now only dedicated now to your type of services being freight. So we have a massive freight network that goes across Australia and uses obviously the back lines as well.
that is really cool. That's
Yes.
a huge network. That's wicked.
Yes. And then we have one that comes through here. Ah, there it is. It's called the Overlander.
Oh,
E- mm, yeah. So this train is goes to Adelaide, which is so it's an interstater.
oh
So it's like
wow.
it's huge, very big.
Yeah, the Overlander. It even sounds cool as well.
And then seating inside looks like this, so a very typical British setup.
Yeah,
And
it
there's
looks like an old living room, didn't it? It's brilliant.
yeah, so it's pretty cool. And then we have one that goes to Sydney that actually still contains the same configuration as the intercity.
That is really
So
cool.
the old intercity trains are go. It is called the XPT.
I love
It
all the
look like this.
names.
Yes.
Oh wow.
So does that remind you of an old train going by in British history?
It really does. It looks like the old Class 43, the HST.
That
Yeah.
is exactly right. We still use those old models, but we've color schemed it into the XPT, and that's something I actually really want to do. When I get a spare moment, is to do this train. It's been one of my things to do. So possibly something that you should do if you ever come to Australia as well.
Oh, you know what? You've made me want to come like this week. That looks great fun.
Yes, and like you get to see a lot of like the rural countryside coming through Victoria and going across the border to New South Wales. So it's very nice.
Yeah, that is so cool. What a
Yes, it
great
is.
looking thing. It's got that proper slab sort of face. It looks brilliant.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does indeed. So, moving on from that, so what from daily experiences, what does a typical day look for you working in Great British Rail Freight as a driver? What challenges would you face, and how the protocols in your like field of work have changed over time?
So at the moment, I'm training to be a mainline driver. So covering more miles than what I was doing before, which was a shunt driver where I was just in a depot. Um, with freight, my goodness, going from passenger work, going from passenger work to freight, it's just a completely different world. Passenger is very, you know, safety on the railway is always the first and foremost, but passenger is very much it needs to be here at this place at this time. Freight is very much the same as well, but they're a little bit more open to expect the unexpected sort of thing. Um, it's I don't think I could give you like a data, even though I'm only training now. Just I've been training since January, and just in that short time with it being May now, so much has happened. Just so much. There is no normal day to day. You could have the same shift every single day, and it's just wildly different every single time. Whether that be how long it takes you to get somewhere, if something happens within the journey, if something happens on the loco that you're on, if nothing happens at all, it's fantastic. Can't couldn't love it enough.
That's amazing. It sounds like a whole lot of fun. I've seen all the photos and all the different sort of classes you encounter on your travels. Is there a favorite? Is there like a favorite like train when you see it and you work with it? Like, I know I'm gonna have a good day.
Oh, so I mostly well at the moment I will be mostly driving the class 66, which is the workhorse loco of the UK. Um, there are trains that locos hopefully that I will sign in the future. At the moment, I am falling quickly in love with the Class 69. Um, there are trains that I see out and about that I used to work on. There's one called the 153, which is it's a love hate sort of unit. I'll never work on one because it's mostly a passenger unit. But it's a one carriage train. It is like tiny, and the cab is not much bigger. It's just so anyone and everyone that's ever worked on one has had to be squished in. But whenever I see that out and about, I think to myself, you know what? That's a good luck thing. Today is going to be a good day. That's made me so happy.
Uh, I guess because I know with V Line we have different ones. So the Velocity class is the current one for passengers. N class is the one that's being phased out, but I'd say N class is probably my favorite when it comes to Australian
Yeah.
rail, just
When they
because
are they going to reuse it or are they scrapping?
um for those ones they actually go to heritage railways we have here in Victoria. So we have a few of them dotted across. Victoria. Most of them have gone to a place called Seymour. They have a heritage railway where they keep most of the old locos stationed and they repair them. So they actually go out for special runs,
That's really good.
which is really awesome. We actually have our steam locomotives go out as well. So
Wow.
some of our own historical steam ones as well. So really awesome. Um, have you been to Swindon before? Because I know that's a very historical place for the Great Western Railway. Like, have you ever had a journey down there?
I haven't. I remember actually one diagram that I worked was via Swindon, but because I'm training, everything just is a blur. So I couldn't tell you anything about it, I'm afraid.
Fair enough, because it's going to lead into this a XTC, very famous Swindon band from the 80s. They did an
Oh,
album
wow.
called The Big Express, which was an autobiographical album about Swindon, and of course, all the artwork is heavily influenced by Swindon Steamworks. See,
No
there's a giant
way.
wheel, and then inside, if the camera will operate it, oh God, um, the band members are wearing grubby Swindon uniforms.
No way. I had no idea that that existed.
Yeah, I love XTC. I've actually met Dave Greco before. He's still in Swindon. I think most of the band members actually are still in Swindon. But there's a song that odes to the Swindon Steamworks as a B-side called Red Brick Dream, which features a lot of name calls a lot of the classes, the North class, North Star, castles and kings. It says here on notes on Chalk Hills, castles and kings and the North Star were classes of steam locomotives that were built at Swindon Steamworks. The Iron Horse was an early term for locomotive, hence horses of the gods.
That is super cool. I love
So
that as well because recently I'd gone through Spotify looking for, train inspired songs and stuff like that and finding things that you kind of recognize within a song. It's like, oh, that's really cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
so The Big
I do.
Express, if you ever come across it, an absolutely amazing album and lots of references to trains. Even the final song, Train Run Low, is so cool. It's a metaphor for the lead singer of the band, Andy Partridge, having a mental breakdown, but it's also a metaphor for steam trains being pulled out of service.
That is, yeah, I'll have to go and give that a listen.
Yeah, so that's a great one. So, moving on to technology in trains. So this should be an interesting one. How has the technology in trains improved safety, efficiency, comfort for both the drivers and the passengers? So basically from both ends, really.
I think I brought it up slightly earlier when I said about level boarding. I think that is probably the biggest thing and the best thing that's come out of like our new wave technology sort of trains coming through. Um, so when I was a guard, we had a lot of old rolling stock. So if anyone needed assistance with a wheelchair or a pram or anything like that, I'd have to go out and get a ramp and lay the ramp down and then help them onto the service by that. There are a lot of trains now, still a massive work in progress over the UK, but there are a lot of trains coming through with level boarding. So the train will come into the platform and a little step just slides out, and then that is it. It's completely bar like a millimeter gap. It's completely flush. So then there's no need for that ramp. There's no need to book assistance or wait for assistance. So it's something that is being rolled out over the UK. And I think as technology goes, that is one of the best things that has come from it.
Well, there you go, because we still see boarding assistance happening with as a responsibility of guards and conductors who ride along with the V-line trains. We still have those ramps being put out for assistance needed. So I'm hopeful that maybe level boarding technology may be installed into our trains in the near future. That would be actually very handy.
Yeah, when the platform's at the right height and everything's to scale as it should be, it works fantastic. It's brilliant.
Now, one of the main reasons why I brought you on here is the creation of Arlo, this badger character who's delighted children who ride British Railway over where you are. So tell me about this little critter.
So yeah, I wrote a railway safety book, and it's one of those choose your own adventure books where you can make your own choice. It was inspired by driver training because we were all learning things based on scenarios, and it's just really because it's hard to learn something if you don't learn from your mistakes. At least that's how I seem to learn. I'll make some silly mistake and I'm, oh, for goodness sake, I'll never do that again. But then when it comes to the railway, where it is so fatal, if you do make a mistake, it is then hard to learn from your mistakes because you're not really going to come back from it. So I decided to do a pick a path, choose your own adventure book. So then you can make those mistakes, but from the comfort of your own home and then see the consequences of that. Um, so yeah, there's a few pages where Arlo, he's a little badger. He's off to go see his friends, spend the day on the train, and then go home again. And there's a few scenarios like the barriers are coming down at a level crossing. Are you going to run across? Are you going to stay and wait? Or I need to get to the other side of the platform. Are we going to cut across the tracks? Or are we going to use the footbridge? It's all stuff like that. And then you can see the consequences of your actions pretty much. And none of them are really pretty, but it's not like a horrifically graphic book. It's for little kids. But yeah, it's getting that across that it is dangerous and it will kill you if you mess about.
Yeah, we don't have mascots like that for Australian Rail. We have a thing here in Victoria called Wendy the Whistle, which is more like just to alert people like when trains are leaving, make sure you're on the train at the right time so that it don't have delays, that type of thing. So same type
Yeah.
of thing. Actions have consequences. So, and I hear your book actually won an award.
Yeah. Recently in March, it won an award for like most effective communication campaign. The whole thing just blew me away because it was just something that I'd done in my own time. I didn't think it was going to become popular, and it went out, and then that was it. It just went by storm. It's now off doing its own thing. I just trundle along doing my day-to-day business, and then I just hear that it's travelled here, there, and everywhere, and people all over the world. It's like it's ended up in Queensland. And
Wow.
yeah, I have no idea how
Oh
something
my
I've created has
goodness.
ended up in Australia before I have. It's I'll have to
Well,
follow
there you
it.
go. Arlo's making little adventures of his own here in the bright, sunny state of Queensland. That's amazing. Who would have
Yeah.
thunk it? Who would have thunk it? I've been up to my own little creations here. I've been making a replica of 2301, the Dean's Good, in 3D printed. So I actually found these online, the actual little models. You remember those little wooden trains you used to get when you were a little kid, the Thomas ones?
Yeah, with the
It's in that
tracks. Yeah,
scale. It's in that
that
scale.
is really cool. And
So
then on the wooden tracks as well. Do you have those? That is
I
wicked.
do, but my house, we have a virtual background at the moment because we're packing up to a brand new house. But I had a Flying Scotsman from 1999 in my glass cabinet because that's a highly sought after model. So
Wow.
something that was like probably £10 back in the day is now worth anywhere between 200 Australian to nearly 400 Australian.
Oh my goodness.
No
And
joking.
then you've just got it tucked away.
Yeah,
That's
I picked up a copy for like 10, $20. So I'm like, that's valuable. That's valuable.
yeah.
So
And it
I'm
is amazing as well because you do, like you said, you can pick it up for nothing almost and then give it a few years and it's like this is now worth just ridiculous amount of money.
Yes, so that was my introduction to trains was Thomas the Tank Engine and watching it religiously when I was a little kid, and that's probably what's kept the flame going, no pun intended, into our joining, wanting to be with V-Line because of my obsession with trains from a little kid.
Yeah. And I think that is so important if you have that passion as well because you're going to take it seriously. It's not just a job then, it's a career, it's a lifestyle, it's your whole world.
As so you've been across many places with the freight training, the guards work and all that. Is
Mhm.
there any memorable moments or any memorable journeys that you've had in your time so far?
A lot of my stories start with when I was a guard because yeah, there was a lot of wild things that happened. Because you're around the public all day, every day. There's always going to be some mad thing that happens. Um, Fare evasion is always one that you'll get your normal hiding in the toilet sort of fare evasion or pretending to be asleep. But there was one that has always blown my mind, and I was so impressed, but also horrified that this person was doing this. Um, I was sat chatting to a passenger at a table, and this guy had got on the train, obviously not seen that I was sat inside the train. and we were just sat about 5 or 6 rows away from the toilet, and someone was in the loo, and this guy's come up to the toilet door and he's knocked on the door and he's gone, tickets please. And that's instantly pricked my ears up, and I'm thinking, what is going on here? And the person in the toilet has gone, I'm just on the loo. And he's like, that's fine, slide your ticket under the door. And they slid it under the door, and he picked it up and went to walk off with it. So I stood up and I'm like, oi, what are you doing? And he's like, but I said, no, right, give me that back. I'm going to give that back to that person when they come out. I was just so, I didn't know what to say, because I was just horrified that that's what he'd done. But I was so impressed by the creativity of it. I was like, mate, just go and sit down. Don't worry about it. Just go and sit down.
Oh, that's
But yeah, that's one of my
incredible.
favorites. Yeah.
But also with like working, like traveling and all that with trains, you see so many beautiful historic landmarks. The Corfe Castle was one of the recent things you saw. How beautiful was that ruin, like in the village?
It's, I mean, yeah, it is beautiful. And a lot of things as well, it's like it just doesn't seem real when you see it. It's really bad. I should know my own geography, but we went through a place recently, and on the hillside, miles away on the hillside, was this huge chalk horse. There's a massive horse, and that is just like, I think one of the most frustrating things as well, personally, because I like to share the things that I see, is that I see it, but because I'm driving a train, I don't have my phone's turned off,
Yeah.
bag, it's tucked away. I just have to then have that to memory. That it's gorgeous. I just want to show the world, and it's one of those things that I can't unless I go onto Google Images and go, oh, this is a massive chalk horse that's on the side of a hill.
I know
But
what that is. I know what that is.
oh, do you know what
So
it is?
I do know what that is, and it's also another vinyl cover as well. So
No,
when we're done with this, look up XTC, English Settlement, the famous white horse. That's the chalk horse that you're referring to.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
bad that I don't know. I've
I
driven past it and I don't know it. That's terrible.
well, as someone whose also second obsession is vinyls and records, I pay attention to details, and I'm absolutely obsessed with that image. And hopefully, if I get a chance to go to Swindon, they do bus tours to that specific place. So I want to see that for myself as a big
Yeah,
XTC nut and just a nut of Great British countryside in general. But yeah, that's
yeah, that was an
crazy.
incredible. Yeah, I can't believe there's me just going, oh yeah, it's just some random horse on
Just some
it.
random white horse in the hill, and then it takes someone like me to say, "Oh yeah, that's actually on a record that I have at home."
And the way the sun was just hitting the side of it, it was just, yeah, beautiful. And all the animals that you see everywhere is amazing. You know, it gets to a point where it's like, oh wow, look at all that deer, and then it's like, oh no, look at all that deer. No, 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 don't come near the train. No. But yeah, it is the most beautiful job. To be in the front of a train is just the most beautiful thing. Seeing all the seasons and everything changing in front of you. But going from driving in early of this year to now coming into spring and summertime, and it's just changed so much already. Like the trees have gone wild and all the baby animals everywhere. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, we're starting to get brown leaves here in Australia, so all the paths are now scattered with the autumny colored leaves, which are absolutely beautiful, by the way. But yeah, makes train driving and not train driving, train like riding very more different now because it's like different season.
Yeah, yeah. Again, another sentence, story that will start with when I was a guard. I used to work with a train driver who we used to play a game called What's the Crop in the Field? And it was like a year-long game. So we'd go past the crop when it had just been planted, and we're like, what do you think that's going to be? Oh, I think it's going to be pumpkins. I think it's going to be this, that, the other. And then, yeah, you give it a couple of months and we go past it again. And it's like, oh, it's sunflowers. We got that completely wrong. So that was always a fun game to play.
That's awesome. I see your pug is ready for attention now.
Oh, yeah, she was squeaking so much I had to go and pick her up. She's
Hello.
so old.
She doesn't mind the screen time. Like unlike my dog who had to run off. That's all right there. We're talking
She
about
does.
trains here, sir. Yes, sir. You have a Class 92 horn in your collection as a piece of scrap items. Has there been
I
anything else that you've collected? like from scrap
Oh, oh,
heaps that you happen to
so
have?
much.
You
Yeah,
have
I am like a magpie. It's terrible. Actually, my work bag is next to me at the moment. What have I got in here? Oh, maybe I've taken it out already. Damn it. I just find bits of scrap and then I'm like, I don't know what that is. I'm taking that. As long as it's not like, I don't want to take anything that can be seen as important or it's going to be used because I don't want to end up taking something when someone turning up going, oh my
hang
God,
on.
where's this metal that I needed? So everything I pick up is definitely, you can tell that it's just been left behind. I've got old track bolts. I've got old bits of coupling from locos, like bits of screw coupling. Yeah, I've got the horn over there. I've just,
Wow, it's
yeah,
cool.
bits and bobs of everything. I used to be really bad with it because I'd have like old we have in the cab we've got an in-cab radio called the GSMR, so that's how we can like do emergency calls or
Ah,
speak to
yeah,
the
yeah.
and stuff like that. So I used to have like old bits of handsets from the phone of the GSMR, and I had to have a clear out because it was getting a bit silly. But yeah, bits of anything and everything, I'll have it.
Have you got your eye on anything at the moment, like from recent, just like dig throughs?
um, so there is a little shunting loco. It's the Class 08. It's called the Pilot or the 350 or the Gronk. It's got so many different nicknames. And inside there, all the handles and all the plates around the handles are all made out of brass, and they're beautiful. And there's a guy that I used to work with that he come in one day and he just got this thing out of his bag and he was like, look, I've got this bit of brass paneling from the '08. And then ever since I've seen that he's got one, I think that's the goal. It's like, oh, I'd love it. But you got to wait for one to be killed effectively, I suppose, scrapped and murdered to then
Yep.
have a bit. So maybe not.
I know what I've wanted to do, but I think my parents are strongly against this one. Um, a lot of the hype class carriages that I've showed you just before, they're going for sale because the diesels are phasing out.
Yeah.
So they're selling three lots of those carriages and they're putting for offer anyone that wants to take the seats. And I'm like, I could use
Oh,
it for a
take
theater
the
room
seat.
in my new house.
Yeah.
But
Oh, do it. Take the seats. That'd be so cool.
they'd be so comfy for like TV viewing and everything, but if you want some, they are like a lot of money. So
And
like
they're probably
for
quite heavy to cart
yeah,
about as well.
yeah, 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 yeah. For a full carriage set is $10,000 Australian.
Worth it.
Yes, yes. If I had to spare 10,000 lying around, yes, or I'd go on deal or
Yeah.
no deal in Australia and win the money that way. But yes, that'd be
Go
very comfy
carrying.
seating, and because they have the arrangements are one side is usually the four-seater, and then the other side is a six-seater. So it's two rows on one side, three rows on another. So that's the optimal side you want to be on when you ride on one of those is the one that has the three side, which is
Yeah.
a lot of space, a lot of space.
That's it. And then you could just live in that, live in a carriage,
Yeah,
rip out
that's
half of it, turn it into like homely, and then
yeah.
keep the rest of all the suits.
Yes, we've seen a lot of people do that. They transform old like very old like carriages and all that from V-Line. They turn them into like little homes that they can live off the grid.
Yeah. That is
So
really
so
cool. I
like
think
tiny
that
home living. Yes,
yeah.
I would like to imagine I could do that one day. That would be very awesome. So going back to Arlo quickly, you have some new books on the way and you've been doing up some new artworks as well.
Yeah, so excuse me, the second book, it's about the careers around the railway in the UK. So it's going to be a careers book, A to Z, which was the hardest thing. I thought, oh, that'd be easy. We'll do a careers book, A to Z of careers, because there are so many different jobs on the railway, so many. And it was finding every job that began with a letter. And I thought that I'd find it hard to find a job beginning with Z, or I'd find it hard to find a job beginning with Y or something. I could not find a job that began with N.
Really?
Yeah, I struggled because there's like network something or network and it just every single one just felt like a stretch. Whereas you could have, basic names of jobs like you can have driver or signaler or controller and stuff like that. So for a kid's book, that's like easy to understand and talk about. And then come to end and it's like network manager, network. I can't think of anything. Night cleaner. I don't know.
Night Watchman, maybe?
Night watchman. Yeah, it's just it just every single one. It just felt like I'm having to make it up as I go along. But
Yeah.
hopefully, it'll be finished by the end of summer and out not too long after that. I have to send some your way as well.
Woo!
Yeah,
Yay! So hopefully by that time that finishes, we'll be in the new house. So we actually finally have a stable address that you can send it to.
that'll be
Not
good.
just
Yeah,
in
as soon as
between two houses.
yeah, yeah, as soon as you know, let me know, and I'll send you a whole lot. It'll be good.
Yes, so as you can see, the virtual background behind me, if we had it here, there would be a whole bunch of records. I'd be pulling them out left, right, and center. But this was taken at the time when I had here a couple of wooden trains on the shelf. So we had a
Oh
Rusty,
yeah.
we had two of the gold perspective sets, and also we have, if my finger can point to it, a Lego Gary Newman, which matches the Talican back cover.
Yeah, I can see the Lego going.
Yeah, that as a creator, that was one of my most proudest achievements ever. Like I
That
made a
is
musician that I really like, and
that
so
is really cool.
and that
I
is
didn't even
actually
notice him.
yeah. So there you go. There's that, and it's also actually the goal of the XTC project. I'm sending to a good friend of the band, Daryl Bollock. All when all this is done, I also have figures to make of the band. He's actually gonna send it on to Andy Partridge. He absolutely loves knickknacks and everything like that, like little
Wow.
collectibles. So I'm hoping he likes it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome as well, just to know that that's where your creation has gone to.
Yes, so I do that. I do radio as well. So hopefully a bit of radio broadcasting communication skills can keep can get me into the V can get me into rail pretty good as well. So I do that twice a week on community radio.
That is really good. And that is it, isn't it? It's that effective communication and being able to use communication, I think, is what sets you apart from a lot of people when going onto the railway.
Yes. So what good career insights would you have for someone looking to get into rail? Because I know here in Australia it's a bit of a hard industry to get into because you gotta have like all these essential skills. So what could you give to someone who's wanting to get into rail?
Don't give up. That is, it's very cliche, but looking back, excuse me, the last 6 years of my career, and so it's only a drop in the ocean, but I've done a lot. It took me 5 years to get onto the railway because I was being naive. I wanted to be a guard and I didn't apply for anything else. So that's another bit of advice. Do anything to put your foot in the door. As soon as you're on the railway, you're on the railway. Just get your foot in the door. It doesn't matter what it is. And if I could go back in time and tell myself that, I'd shape myself. Just don't worry about getting one job. Just try and get anything. And then when I've looked for newer jobs, once I'm already within the railway, I had been knocked down so many times. I went to interviews and interviews and interviews and interviews, and it felt like it was never ending. And the amount of emails that I would get back, or phone calls that I would get back, or just nothing at all, just to, I've not got the job. And it's devastating. And at the time, you just want to give up because it's like, I've been trying so hard. What is the point of me trying if I'm not going to get there? But yeah, super cliche, but just do not give up. Go for anything and don't stop until you're there.
Yeah, that's kind of the advice I've been given also in the radio industry. Just don't give up on your hopes
Mm,
and dreams, and hopefully that can be hopefully the same force that gives me. I know a friend of mine out of town of like an hour's out of Geelong, he's been applying for 3 years to V-Line. So
yeah.
if that's a good sign of anything, then to keep at it then.
Yeah, just never stop. Even to the point where you're boring yourself. Just never stop.
Uh, so I'm a part also of Geelong Miniature Railway, so obviously the miniature trains you can ride on and all that. Have you had any experience with that before, or like what have you just like had anything to do with that at all?
No, so I've the most miniature thing that I've been involved with is model trains. Not anything that I could sit on without breaking. I've never met one that I could sit on physically. I've been to there's a massive depot here in the UK where you can go around and see all the old stuff, and I believe they've got a little sit on model railway that goes around, and that's as close as I've got. I've only kind of seen it over a few people's shoulders. I've never done anything like it, but it looks fun and it sounds fun.
Oh, it is fun. I've actually, so as a part of it, I have to do all the driving and stuff. So it's actually a very fun thing to do. Sit at the front. They built this really cool Australian loco diesel. It's so awesome to drive. I drove it for the first time this year as a volunteer work at the Vintage Truck and Machinery Show. It was awesome.
That is so cool. I'd worry that I was going to fall off. Like if you go around a curve and then suddenly you're just laying on the grass.
Yeah, like it's a good thing though, because it's like it's an easy little system. It's like a little lever that sits like behind the actual compartment itself, and it's like really easy to maneuver. So once you get the groove of it, very, very nice.
That is cool. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. And as soon as it starts becoming summer on this side of the globe, I'll have to go and check it out because it's been
Right.
too long. I feel like that's the only part of any sort of railway I've not really got involved with. Everything else. Hey, sorry about the dogs.
That's all right. That's all right. I'm used to hearing my dogs barking at the stroke of midnight. So you're not alone. You're not alone on that one. So you've got something to do with model trains, so like the HO scale stuff, if I'm being correct.
Yeah, so there's a company here that are they're brilliant people. They're called Model U, and they've got this guy. It's first started. I got called down. Would you like to come and have a look at what we do? And it's like he's got this handheld camera, and you have to stand still, and he runs around your body, and he's like taking pictures, and then suddenly you're a model. You're just this 3D scan printed model, and people were buying little models of me in a shop, and it was just the weirdest stuff. It was amazing. What an amazing experience to have that and go to like these model railway shows and see where people have painted teeny tiny figurines of me. And it's like, oh, that's weird. It's just the best kind of weird. Just to, and then they called me back recently and they said, right, we've got this brand new thing. We've got to show you. Come down and have a look. And it's gone from a guy running around with this scanning thing
Yeah.
with a lead to now this massive. I can't even begin to explain it. It's like it looks like something out of a sci-fi film. It's all these lights and cameras on these massive like tent poles, and it's in a circle. And
Wow.
you go in and you stand in the center, and within seconds, that's it. Your whole body's been scanned. So no more running around, no more having to stand still. It was just yeah, it's so cool. And I took the dogs down there as well, and they got scanned. And then it was horrifying because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so proud to take my dogs with me. And then while we were all talking, one had a poo on the carpet, and I
Oh,
wanted to die.
oh no. Oh, poor
We hadn't
dog.
even started scanning. I was just
And
thinking,
then
God, I
there's
want
just this
to.
like little brown thing coming out like, no, not now, not
And
now.
it's like, oh. And then the worst part is then this whole group of people watching me as I'm picking up this dog poo, bright red in the face. Oh no!
Oh my goodness, what a cracker.
But
Do,
it was a really cool experience.
do you reckon I'll be able to find those little model figurines of you here in Australia? Like those shops,
Oh,
yeah, stock them.
I don't think they'll stock them, but I think Model U would definitely send them out worldwide. I don't see why they wouldn't. But yeah, so I've got some on the mantelpiece, but you won't be able to see. It's teeny, teeny, tiny. But just walking past them, I sometimes look at them. I think, huh, that's going to live longer than me. I'm going to be dead for hundreds of years, and it's just going to be in a landfill laying there. Like.
Oh, so besides doing the train stuff, what hobbies keeps your time occupied?
I love drawing and writing, so that's where the book comes from. And I love just not doing anything at all, just sitting and playing the Xbox, just not having to think about anything. So it's nice to just laze about. But then sometimes I like going for a walk, but I don't know, it depends. But yeah, reading and writing and drawing mainly.
Nice. What's your favorite game to do on the Xbox?
Oh, at the moment
Question.
I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with Baldur's Gate 3. So I used to play the original Baldur's
Everyone
Gate.
is.
Oh, it's
Cannot
so good.
escape it. Cannot escape it.
It's so good. So I love RPGs anyway. I used to be massive on World of Warcraft and stuff like that, to the point where I'd bunk school. So just so I could play this game. Um
Oh man,
yeah,
it's so good. Yeah, I actually just watched for the first time recently the South Park World of Warcraft episode that got nominated for an award.
yeah, that's
Oh my
brilliant.
goodness. I was like, so this is the episode everyone keeps talking about. That's so good. It's amazing. So they got like the in-game footage and everything, and absolutely amazing. So
Yeah,
I
it's very true to it, isn't it?
yes. Oh man, I actually got a great anecdote as well. So when I was in high school, one of my friends of mine gave me a USB copy of the original Halo CE that was made for PC, and he organized what possibly quite have been the biggest LAN party in the school library of Halo CE plays every recess and lunchtime. Those were the days, and I wish I could go back to them because they were absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and that's it. It's like I can see why, when I was a kid, adults would say to me like, "Oh, you're wasting your time on that." Actually, no, because some of my best memories are like in-game memories. Fun with your mates, isn't you? Like massive LAN parties. It's just there's no fun like it.
I know. Those days are long gone. Whilst I actually bought recently, maybe last year, N64. Do you remember the Nintendo 64, late 90s?
Oh my god, I used to play Pokemon Snap like it was going out of fashion. I lived on that and just blowing the cartridge and then shoving it back in and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they put that on the Switch service for Nintendo Switch. So if you have a Switch, you can actually play Pokemon Snap, just like
yeah,
it's
I played
the
that as well.
late 90s again. So it's amazing. So a great dedicated system that is, and they've just put on all the Mario parties as well. Mario Party 1, 2, and 3. And I think they have plans to finish the Banjo Kazooie duo as well. They've yet to put Tui on, but
Oh,
time will
okay.
tell for that one. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just love retro gaming in general because it's something I personally grew up on from like childhood memories, and that's why I hold it so high in regard. And one of my favorites being Simpsons Hit and Run for the GameCube,
Yes.
Xbox, PS2.
Oh my God, that was such a good game. That was probably the first time that I've had something where you've got the freedom to run around in it, and it was just brilliant.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
felt like an open world RPG in some way as
yeah, it
well.
really did. And then there's nothing more fun than jumping into the family car and running over Moses lag. That was such a good game.
Yes! Oh my God. And then someone's made a mod recently. I actually just found this out today when I was on YouTube. They made a mod called the Simpsons Hen Rod Mod of Stupidity. It has all these different other IPs and characters in Hank Hill, Hank, King of the Hill. Even Wallace and Gromit are in there as well.
Oh, I'm gonna have to YouTube that. That sounds great.
Yes. So it's from a developer called Health Inspector who made the mod, and there's like brand new missions that are based around the characters. It's so insane and
Oh,
hilarious.
I think that's probably the best thing about modern gaming is that you can just have DLCs now. Like you can buy a game, the game's 10 years old and it's still cranking out new stuff.
Yeah, it's so incredible, and like I know Nintendo doesn't really treat the IPs well in terms of DLC, but Mario Kart 8 Deluxe managed to hold on for 10 years
Yeah. Well,
with its
sometimes I still
Wii.
chuck Skyrim on. It's like that game is old as time, and
I
yeah,
know. I
it's great.
remember when I got the Wii U Deluxe set for my birthday, the black Wii U. I actually still have that with me. That came with Mario Kart 8 when it first came out, pre-installed. So like, I
Yeah.
have both copies of the game. That's actually really incredible as well. So Well, thanks for coming on the Variety Show podcast with Liam. It's been great to get some insight into Great British Railway as well, and some really good fun learning about Australian Rail as well.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me on. It's been really nice chatting, and I had no idea about Australia. Like I'd know nothing about Australian Rail, so that's it. I'm about to go down a rabbit hole of Wikipedia articles and different YouTube videos. You'll probably see me out there one day, like waving at trains on platforms.
Yes. Uh, well, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah, so you'll be able to find this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course the video version under YouTube under my YouTube channel, Liam Hare, as well. So that'll be good. So you just mentioned to me quickly post that Record Store Day means something to you, and you actually sold the DG's record for $350. Am I correct in hearing that?
Yeah, 300. So I bought it for about £10 and then held on to it for a couple of years because I think it was either 2020 or 2021. I can't remember what year it come out, but I just picked it up because I mean, it's Foo Fighters anyway, and the vinyl cover itself was like this purple pearlescent. It looked really cool. So I'm a massive fan of a guy called Frank Turner, and I think I got a Frank Turner t-shirt on at the
Oh,
moment. I love him. I think he's brilliant. And on record store days, he'll sometimes bring out a limited edition thing, so I'll go and get it. And yeah, saw this DG's thing. I was like, oh, I'll get that as well because it's super cool and purple, and everyone's picking it up for some reason. So I'm also going to pick it up. Never opened it, never used it, and then it sat there for a couple of years. And it was only about 6 months ago that I put it on eBay. I saw that people were selling it or trying to sell it for a lot of money. So I'd put it on eBay for about 99p to go on auction. And then, yeah, it just went crazy. It went absolutely mad. 300 odd quid. And I was thinking, this guy's not going to pay for that. Is so much money. This guy's not going to pay for it. And then, yeah, lo and behold, as soon as the bid ended, it was paid for. I was like, oh, this is crazy. I never
oh
realized.
my goodness. So I actually did find some stuff here in Australia. So yeah, surprise, surprise, they actually sent your stuff from Record Store Day here. Big Country's one was Why the Long Face. So the album from 1995 with the dog on it. They did that one. It was the first time they'd released it since 1995 when it came out on vinyl, and they repressed it from the remixes, and it was on turquoise vinyl.
Beautiful.
So if I bring the screen share up again, uh,
Oh, look at it.
look at the dogger. Yes, so it's a really cool piece, and it's kind of for me, it's a bit of me filling in holes and gaps because I actually didn't own this album until they announced it for the 2024 season. So it was kind of there, and I really wanted the album because it's so expensive to buy the original vinyl
That's
because
a sign, isn't
they
it? You've got to
did
go.
they did limited edition pressings back in the day in 95 for about 2,000 copies, and then they go for about 200 euro on Discogs.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
amazing value that some records keep. Like
Mm.
I knew that it did for some, but I had no idea. Like, and just even not knowing what ones are going to keep value and stuff like that, it's just complete. Yeah, you must have a ridiculous amount behind you.
It's we actually had to put it in storage at the moment, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think I've counted close to 900 records.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow,
let
that's
me
absolute
find
value.
that XTC record for you. I'll be right back. So, introducing from 1982, English Settlement.
That's it. That's the big horse.
That's the White Horsey.
I've been past that on the train.
Yeah, so that's what you were seeing the whole time, and it took you up until today to realize some music nerd was going to tell you it's an XTC album cover.
Yeah, I had no idea.
And yeah, there's the back of the cover. This
Oh,
was,
that's
yeah, it's really awesome. The Ape House is the distributor of all these vinyls, and they've just been redoing them, and they got a nice little coat of arms.
they're so beautiful. Just the detail that gets put into these things as well. That's stunning.
Yeah, it's a really cool one, and it contains the big hit "Sensors Working Overtime." So whenever someone mentions XTC, you're most likely going to say, "Oh, Sensors Working Overtime's the big hit," or
I feel
"Making
like
Plans for Nigel" as well, depending on
making
who you
plans
ask.
for Nigel.
Yes,
I recognize that. I feel like I've heard that before, making plans for Nigel. Just that sentence.
yes, we're only making plans for Nigel. We only want what's best for him.
I'm
Is
gonna
the
have to
main hooky line.
go and listen to this now. I feel like you've probably opened a whole new
I've
world.
put you on a rabbit hole. Yeah, XTC, they were very quirky bands. They actually influenced a lot of modern alternative rock. Like Steven Wilson is a big inspiration who cites it. So Steven Wilson, the Porcupine Tree, absolutely loves XTC, and he did the ranges of the vinyls that I have now, which are the remastered ones. So he went back and did a whole bunch of the remixes. Did an absolutely incredible job with these ones.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go and listen.
Yes,
It
sir.
is brilliant.
They're an absolutely wonderful band, and if you love quirky Englishness, there's always going to be a lot of references to English life in each album.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, completely opened my eyes to something new. I'm sure I'm
Yes,
gonna love it.
so they no longer tour, but I know their drummer Terry Chambers has EXTC, which is a tribute band, and they still go around England and the USA performing XTC's music, sir.
Oh, he's in
Yeah.
his own tribute band. That's nice.
Yes, to his own band, sir. How fun is that?
At least he knows how to play the songs.
Yes, as the drummer. So there's a lot of vinyls I have in there. I range from anything from Alan Parsons' project Big Country, Devo as well as one I've been getting into recently. I saw them last year. I got the pin, the golden 50th anniversary Energy Dome pin. And I also have like the classic bands like Led Zeppelin, Genesis, and all that as well. So I like to keep my range diverse, but also have the obscure ones as well.
Yeah, yeah, you've got to have that. It's not a collection without the odd bits here and there.
Yes, and a lot of stuff that like I've people like they've never heard of that band. So Marillion, for example, no, hardly anyone knows them here in Australia.
No,
But like
that's
I know
cool.
back home in England, they did really well in the 80s, and they're still touring to this day, even after a change of vocalist as well. So
That's amazing.
yeah, that's my other thing I like to do as well. My passion for music is through the roof. Some people call me a walking encyclopedia of music, and I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, so you should be. I'm terrible. I'll hear something and go, I
Uh,
think I've heard that before.
but yeah, it's what's connected me to a lot of people. It's what opened a lot of network in the music industry and talking with a lot of people who made the music. On a recent episode of the show, actually, I've had. Do you remember a band called the Presidents of the United States of America? They were obviously an American punk pop band. No, sorry, alt pop band. They had a song called Lump. Peaches as well was another one. But
Is that
yeah,
that one where he's talking about millions of peaches?
yes,
Yeah, I know that. Yeah,
yeah. So I actually got to meet the frontman and
that's
interview him.
cool.
He loves Australia. They were actually the most popular here in Australia. Out of all the countries they ever charted in, Australia was always their number one.
No way. That is so cool. Oh, that's it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go and watch that as well.
It's like I've just uncovered a lot of memories for you besides talking about rail because that's what I
Yeah.
do. I like to hopefully pinpoint some stuff, but yeah,
No, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Liam.
you're welcome.